introduce Dan Charlier. So take it away, Coach.
All right, Alisa. Good morning. Great morning. Great morning, everyone. Alisa, when we did the payday May, you literally, I think you've surpassed your biggest month ever in WFG, didn't you?
Yeah, we doubled it. We doubled it.
Doubled it.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's gotta be an awesome feeling. The beautiful thing about that, once you set a goal and you achieve that goal like that, it's very hard to go back. And then now you're able and capable of doing that. And we had Franklin Westbrook had his biggest month ever in WFG. We had so many people do so many great things in the month of May. Payday May. Now we're getting ready to go in June. But I'm excited to be here with you guys this morning. I'm still sweating. I just got off my Peloton. I've been for 3 months, I think 3.5 months. I wasn't able to ride my Peloton, so it was driving me crazy. So now I'm able to ride it again. So I'm starting to ride again. So that's exciting, and I'm fired up about it. But today is, I believe today is Memorial Day, is it not? Is it today's Memorial Day, or was it yesterday? Oh, we have the day off today. Is it today? Let me see in the chat. Oh, it is today, right? One of the things about holidays, right? You guys hear me all the time saying every day's a holiday and every meal's a feast. And one of the things being in the military, growing up in the military, we never knew the actual meaning of a holiday, right? you ever ask someone, well, what holiday is it? What does it actually mean? And most of the time, most people celebrate, but they don't really know what the meaning of the holiday is. So I want to share something with you guys when we talk about Memorial Day, and I want you to think about this today. What is the meaning of actual Memorial Day, right? I pulled it up and I want to share it with you guys. Pretty cool. Why do we say Happy Memorial Day? Memorial Day could be an expression of gratitude. The population acknowledged the past, and people are joyous that we are all remembering where we came from and how we come so far. So if you're unsure about happy, think of it a way as to express gratitude as opposed to toss it aside as a literal meaning, right? And I want you to think about when you're casting a vision, there's 3 things that you want to consider. One of the things that you want to consider is where you come from. One of the things that I want to remind you of is that a lot of times we're constantly thinking about where we're not. Maybe we set a goal and we haven't hit that goal. Maybe you set a cash flow goal, you didn't hit your cash flow goal. Maybe you set a promotion goal and you didn't hit that promotion goal. But one of the things that I want to challenge you is never forget where you come from. Where you come from, each of you that are listening with the 200 people here, you have an incredible story and your story needs to be told, right? You have an incredible story. I was talking, my mom called me this morning. And she was yelling on the phone. She was like, baby, 56 years ago, I made the decision. You were 8 months old. I made the decision to leave Haiti. It was 56 years ago today. I just want you to remember, I'm so proud. I'm so proud. We made it. She was so excited, right? And she had no idea I was going to actually talk about her this morning, right? I want to pull up my PowerPoint real quick. I want to show you guys a couple of things. Right. So I want to tell you, whatever your story is, wherever you come from, each of you are unique in your own ways. And I want to celebrate you guys this morning. Right. I want to celebrate you guys this morning. When she says 56 years ago, the picture to the left right there, she told me this morning I was 8 months old when she was making the decision to come to the United States. Right. And imagine, all of us have kids. I have Amanda's 2 years old. And then I have Preston. Preston's actually graduating next week, graduating and going to the 6th grades, going middle school. And Matthew's 8, and Danny's 13, and Justin is 31, and Brianna is 25. And all of us have kids, and we all love our kids. Can you imagine, the decision and choice? She's 22 years old, and she has to make a decision to leave the United States, I mean, to leave Haiti to come to the United States with a vision of having a better life. And if she did not make that decision 56 years ago, can you imagine? We were talking about last week. I talked to my mom every Sunday. We were talking about last week, and she was saying to me, she's like, "Oh my God, if I didn't make that decision, it was such a tough decision to make." You know what I mean? When you have kids, can you imagine having to leave your kid, and then not see your kid for like 8, 9 years old? And that's my auntie. That's my auntie. I grew up with my auntie in Haiti while my mom was in New York, chasing the American dream, right? And the picture to the right there, is when it was my first time that I was coming to the United. I was telling my boys the other day, I was saying, like, the entire time I was going to school, my mom always made me wear a shirt and tie and shoes and a belt on and a jacket. And the only time that I can wear sneakers to school, this is in junior high school, right? The only time I could wear sneakers to school is when we had PE, right? So that picture to the bottom right there, there is the picture of me. Natalie's like, that looks like daddy. That's a picture of me the first time I was coming to the United States. That was the first time I was going to meet my mom. So I think about that, and I'm in total gratitude with my mother making a tough decision and having a vision, just like all of you. All of you you've got a story, you've got parents, your parents have made some sacrifices for you. So this is a day of gratitude. This is a day when you think back and you think about your journey, you think about your story. A lot of you right now are, if I would have told you 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you would be where you're at right now, you would think that it's a dream to be where you're at right now. You know, just to be part of the environment that encourages, that praises, that recognizes, that fosters growth. Just the fact that you're challenging yourself to be different, you're challenging yourself to be better, it's very, very powerful. Then I remember once I got here, I remember my experience growing up in the United States. You know, English was my second language. I had to learn how to speak English. You know, I remember the bullying in school, and because I didn't know how to speak English, right? I remember the decisions and choices that I made, that, you know, one day I'm going to speak without an accent and all of that stuff, and then eventually did it. Then I also remember my experience in the military. I mean, I had a great time in the military. You pull up my next slide. I had a great time in the military, and some of you have seen this before. You know, I was talking to my buddies that were in the Marine Corps with me: Ron Pickett, John Myers, Scott Hemp, all of my buddies in the military. That's actually, I don't think I've ever shown this picture. That's actually us, Ron Pickett. That's Ron Pickett holding the hose. Scott Hemp's behind him, and I'm standing there overseeing. We were doing a training on an F-18. That's an actual live picture of us at Crash Fire Rescue. And all the great things that happened in the military. I had a great experience. I didn't like being in the Marine Corps. I loved it. You know, I got a chance to have some incredible experiences. One of the things I was telling my buddy yesterday, I was telling one of my buddies yesterday, is that, man, I wish I journaled when I was in the military, because I had these incredible experiences in the military, but I never journaled. I wish I would have took more pictures. I wish there was Instagram and Facebook at that time where you could take pictures and memories come up. These were incredible moments. I've been to some incredible rooms. You know, right now as we're talking, WFG is celebrating. WFG is sponsoring the 100th anniversary of Black Wall Street. And right now, as we're talking, you know, Nikki Cannon's going to have an incredible experience. She's going to be in the same room. She's going to be in the same room with Michelle Obama. She's going to be in the same room with the Vice President of the United States. What's her name again? The VP of the United States. Her name skips me. Kamala Harris. Right, and a lot of other people that are going to be in there. Last week when I called Nikki, and you know, you talk about speaking things into existence, right? Those of you that know Nikki, you know, she's a huge fan of Michelle Obama. She's been talking about Michelle Obama for a long time. She's a huge fan of Kamala Harris. And then last week when I called her and I said, Nikki, if you had an opportunity to be in this room, I was talking to Kermit, her husband. Kermit and I were talking over a cigar, as he was just telling me how excited she was, right? These are just incredible experiences you get a chance to have. And you think about that. WFG Transamerica is actually sponsoring the entire event for the 100 Black anniversary, right? And then you think about all the incredible experiences, the last 23 years with WFG. Since 1999, I've been personally averaging 3 to 4 trips a year with WFG and pursuing and building a business. I've traveled all around the world. I took my mom all around the world. We've done some incredible experiences. Still to this day, I mean, just this year, we got a chance to celebrate Ed Milet's birthday. Flew in his private jet, which was incredible. Not just a private jet. I mean, it was just like it's a $70 million plane. It was just like an incredible experience. Got a chance to do some yachting. That's us on the yacht right there, having an incredible time. And we were talking about on that trip celebrating his birthday. When I met Ed, I was 32 years old. He was 29 years old. Now he just turned 50. I turned 55. And we feel like this is just the beginning. We've just been grateful that we have our health and we have great business partners and we've got this great platform with WFG and things are expanding. Things are unbelievably well. I mean, I'm going to show you some numbers and all of that stuff. But having said that, along with gratitude, along with remembering where you come from, the next step is that you got to know where you're at, right? You got to know where you're at. And then you got to cast a vision of exactly where you're going. I really believe, you guys, when I tell you this is the beginning of my career. I believe the last 22 years has gotten me ready for the next 10 years. And I'm going to tell you why. Right? Because there's a huge market for what we have, right? There's a huge market from what we have. We talk about the competitive spirit. I've been talking to you about the competitive spirit, right? Like what gives you the edge, right? Are you still competitive? Are you still have that edge? Or do you still want it? Do you still want it really bad, right? All of these things are really, really important. And those of you that are not harnessing competition, right? Competition is going to get you out your comfort zone. Right? It's going to get you out your comfort zone. Understand this. The biggest leaders in our business are being recruited right now. The biggest leaders in WFG. You look at the bulletin right now. Hannah Hornstein and I were talking about this. You look at the top 25, the top 50, those are not common names. These are new people that are coming into WFG. It's a whole new environment. There's a lot of different markets that are opening up now. You talk about competition, right? Nothing motivates like competition. New studies show it fuels you to consistently put in the work that will make you healthier and happier long term. Competitors are important because they give you a reference point. Competition has two goals. Surface goal is to win and improve performance, right? Are you competing right now? Does it matter to you? Did you go to Elite Circle? And if you went to Elite Circle, did you graduate Elite Circle? And if you graduated Elite Circle, were you number one? Or were you in the top 5 or in the top two? Did you go to Next Level Growth Academy? And if you attended Next Level Growth Academy, did you graduate? Does it bother you that you didn't graduate? And if you graduated, where did you place? Did you place number 5, number 4, number 3, number 2, number 1? You got to get intense about that stuff, because when you're competing, you guys, you're going to do things that you were not willing to do before when you're competing. So competition is extremely important. A lot of times people say, well, Dan, don't go to the next slide yet. A lot of times people say, well, Dan, I'm competing with myself, right? And that's good that you're competing with yourself, but guess what? You gotta have some people that you're competing with, right? Because sometimes you're competing with yourself and you don't do nothing, right? So there's nothing to compete with, right? So you got to look at the bulletin. You got to look at all the different people that are winning and say, hey man, what do I need to do to get my name on the bulletin? I'm tired of sitting in the background and watching everybody else get recognized, watching everybody else break certain records. And we've got a lot of people on the team that are teeing it up right now, right? And I want to talk to you about one thing, right? About decisions and choices, right? We have. I want to talk about Team Lighthouse today, right? So Team Lighthouse, we had Franklin Westbrook got his MD promotion. You had Bathsheba and Joseph got their EMD promotion on their way to CEO promotion. And you had Pavi, then you had Denise get big promotions as SMDs, right? Which is incredible. And you got a lot of leaders at the Lighthouse that's going to do some great things. This is a team on the move, and I'm so proud of all the leaders in the Lighthouse. And there's so many leaders. If I don't say your name, that's okay, but you know who you are. I'm so proud with all of them. Leah, Claire, you know, all the different leaders that are there that are doing things, that are team players and that's been around for a while and all of that stuff. But, you know, when you think about Team Lighthouse started with a decision and a choice, right? I remember in 2012, I want you to pull up the next slide. I remember in 2012, when I decided I was leaving Chino, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to leave Chino. I'm going to go to Beverly Hills, and I'm going to start a team from scratch. I'm going to challenge myself. To open up a new market, right? I recruited my buddy Sean Callahan, right? Sean Callahan, he's having a challenging time right now. He has MS. It's very hard for him to walk right now, but he's got a great family around him that's taking care of him. And this is one of my really, really good friends. You know, I've known him for over probably 17 years. You know, he came from Sean. Tell you a little bit about background on him. Back when I was in Corona, I used to make phone calls. at a private cigar bar called Club Azucar, right? Club Azucar down at right where Louise lives, right off the 15 and Wirral, right? And I used to make calls there all the time. And when I was training the base shop, and I used to tell the base shop all the time, I said, hey, if someone calls you and they're trying to recruit you and they sound good, right? And you don't know what to say, here's what you need to say. You just say, hey, man, I just got started. I'm brand new here. I just got my licenses. What you're telling me sounds great. But what I can do is I can set up a meeting with my mentor. My mentor has thousands of agents. And if you can recruit my mentor, you can have all of us, right? So one of the guys that I recruited, and his name was Sean too, he was hanging out at a cigar bar off of 55 in the city of Orange, right? So Sean Callahan at the time, he was in his early 30s, and he had this presidential Rolex with all the diamonds on it. He had this Mercedes-Benz with the suicide doors, and he was just having fun. He was having fun, right? And he owned his own general agency. He was on 130% contract, and he was a dynamic, and still is a dynamic personal producer, right? So he ran into my direct Sean, and he says, hey man, you seem like you're excited. What are you doing? And Sean says, hey, I just got started in the insurance industry. I'm with a company called World Financial Group. And then Callahan looks at him and goes, World Financial Group? Why would you be in World Financial Group? They start people on these small contracts. He says, come over with me. I'll give you a bigger contract, and I'll show you how to make some money and all of that stuff. And you'll make more money with me and all of that. And then Sean goes, that sounds great, but I'm brand new. What I can do is I can get you to a meeting with my mentor. And if you can convince my mentor has thousands of agents, and this could be the jackpot for you. And he says, and Sean goes, okay, I'll meet with him. So Sean calls me, right? He's in a base shop. He calls me, he goes, Charlier, I met this guy at the cigar lounge. He's a general agent. He has 130% contract. He's making a lot of money, and he's willing to sit down with you. I said, okay. I said, book the appointment. So we booked the appointment. We went to South Coast. We went to South Coast Plaza at one of the restaurants, at one of the steakhouses. It's a steakhouse. I forgot the name of it, but it's a steakhouse that you can actually smoke cigars outside, right? So Sean gets there, I get there, and Callahan gets there, and we sit at the table, right? And I go to light a cigars. Yeah, it's called Morton Steakhouse. That's exactly it. I go to light a cigar, and Callahan looks at me and he goes, you seem to be a pretty smart guy, right? And you never know whether that's a compliment or not. You know what I mean? It's like when someone says, you're pretty smart. I mean, like, what's the bar, right? And he goes, why would you be in WFG? like why would anyone smart be in WFG, right? So I sat back, right? And remember one of the things I told you about, most people are looking for reasons to get offended, right? That's a middle class mindset. Most people are looking for reasons to get offended. There's no reason for you to get offended if no offense was intended, right? So he goes, you seem to be a pretty smart guy. Why would you be in WFG? So I start laughing, right? Because he just took a blow that like the first line out of his mouth was a blow, right? And I said to him, I said, Sean, you're obviously sold out in what you're doing, and I'm obviously sold out in what I'm doing. You're not going to close me on doing your deal. Obviously, I'm not going to close you on doing WFG. But we're at a great restaurant, and we're both cigar smokers. Let's have a good time, man. Let's just sit down. Let's just chop it up, right? And he says, okay. So we ordered some food and all this stuff. And then I said to Sean, I said, yo, tell me your story, man. Tell me your background. How did you get in the industry and everything? Come to find out, he was in the Marine Corps. He had spent 13 years. He had almost the identical story that I did, right? He had 13 years in the Marine Corps, got out the Marine Corps, became a general agent, right? Became a general agent, made a multi six-figure income on his way to seven figures. And I was like, no freaking way. Remember when building rapport, right? You go, no way. Are you serious? What? No way. You did what? Right? So I was no waying him the whole time. So he's telling me his whole story. And remember what we talked about in building relationship, right? You can either focus on being interesting, and if you focus on being interesting, you're doing all the talking, right? Or you could be interested, right? And if you're interested, you're asking all the questions, and you're getting all the data. So that was the science with that appointment right there, right? So Sean and I agreed, right? We agreed that we would never talk about business. Like we would never talk about business because he was sold out on being a general agent. I'm obviously sold out in WFG, right? And I always believe, you guys, that if you put a certain energy out there, right? Like I've never had someone try to recruit me into another deal, right? The first thing I would put in my mind is like, what energy am I putting out that this person actually thinks that they can recruit me, right? I'm unrecruitable, right? So I'm talking to Sean. So Sean and I are spending some time together. So we decide that we're not going to talk about business, right? So one night, so we would talk all the time and he would be running appointments. I'm running appointments, right? And we would meet after our last appointments at the cigar lounge, right? So one night we meet after the cigar lounge and he was feeling himself, right? Because he had just closed a big sale. And then we sit down and he says to me, man, you guys in WFG, you guys don't know how to sell. He goes, man, if I ever ran across you guys in WFG across the kitchen table, I eat your lunch. And I was like, Sean, come on, dude. We talked about this. We talked about that we're not gonna talk business, right? And he goes, nah, man, let's talk about it, right? What is it that we're not gonna talk about? Let's talk about it. If you really believe your deal's better, and I really believe my deal's better, let's freaking talk about it. So I said, okay, you want to go there? We'll go there. You want to go to the mat? Let's go to the mat. I said, show me your kitchen table, right? So he goes, no, man, show me your kitchen table. I said, Sean, you really want to see my kitchen table? I said, Sean, let me tell you something, right? If I ever ran across you and where we as agent to agent confrontation across the kitchen table, I go, bro, you ain't got enough ammo to deal with WFG, dude. You're a one trick pony. You're a one trick pony. You don't even know. I said, Sean, you don't know what you don't know. I said, I'm gonna show you my kitchen table, but let me tell you what I'm gonna do. You only gonna see it once. I'm not gonna do it twice, and you probably need to get a recorder because it's that freaking good, right? He's like, you serious? I was like, I'm dead serious, right? So I grabbed a pen and a pad, right? I grabbed a pen and pad. I said, you ready? So I just showed him one thing on our kitchen table. I showed him the 3 tax boxes, broke down the IUL, broke down the VUL, broke down the term, whole life, universal life. So I broke down all of that, right? So when he saw that, he goes, wait a minute, right? And he gets fired. He got serious, right? He got fired up. He got serious. He's like, wait a minute, right? So he's got everything on recording. And he looks at me, he goes, hey man, can I get this piece of paper? I said, yeah, go ahead and grab it. He says, I gotta go. Cause he was real intense dude. He goes, I gotta go, right? So the next day I called him. I was like, dude, why you had to leave so freaking early? He said, dude, I didn't sleep all night. I went home, I listened to that presentation. He said, I practiced those 3 boxes. I had an emergency meeting the next morning, right? And that year he made close to $1 million in the general agency system, right? So he was telling me they were doing their convention. And he says to me, he says, you know what, Charlier? He's like, look, they want me to speak on stage. They want me to talk about what I did. And I'm gonna tell him my buddy at WFG showed me this presentation and I used the presentation. He got the IUL on his platform and all of that. So I said to him one day, we were talking, I was like, yo, Sean, I says, look, man, you're a one-trick pony, bro. I said, you only got 24 hours in a day. I said, Sean, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, this is back in 2000, this is back in 2010. So we're 12 years, this is 12 years ago. I said, hey, man, I said, there's going to be a day, dude, that you can't run 30, 40 appointments a week. I said, Sean, you don't know what's in your future. You might get sick, something might happen, your priorities might change. What are you going to do? What are you going to do when you don't have, when you can't run 30, 40, or you don't want to run 30, 40 appointments a week? I said, no matter how good you are, Sean, you only got 24 hours in a day, dude. But if you had a team and you had 10 people on your team, you got 240 hours. If you had 100 people on your team, you got 2,400 hours. I said, this is why you need to do WFG. And you'll make more money in WFG because you got the spreads, you got the overrides, you got the bonuses, you got it. And when you add all of that stuff up, it's way more than 130% contract. You don't understand our comp, right? And then he was like, yeah, I know what you're saying. What you're saying makes sense, but I can't do it, right? Things change. He develops MS, comes over my house. He's like, yo, D, you've been telling me this for a while, man. I want to do WFG, right? Now, remember what we talked about, right? A recruit is not a recruit until he or she has a recruit and they've gone through the 8 speed filters. You follow me? So I recruit, so he decides to join, right? Sean Callahan decides to join, right? And he's fired up. He's like, dude, I'm gonna do WFG. I said, you handle the sales part, I'll handle the recruiting part, right? So Callahan, right? So Callahan starts calling, he starts doing his top 25, right? So I take him to the memory jogger. I take him through the baseball example, restaurant example. We develop his list. We qualify his list. And he starts putting what he was putting on his list. He was putting a bunch of people on his list that were like him, that were industry, that were in the industry, people that were selling insurance, people that were selling annuities and top producers and all this stuff. I was like, Sean, I was like, dude, I don't want to go talk to a bunch of industry guys, dude. And he goes, why? They're trained, they know this. I said, Sean, how long did it take you to make a decision to get started WFG? It took you almost 2 years to do it. I said, here's what we're looking for, right? And this is why in the business format system, one of the things that says in the business format system is that the leader controls the point of contact, not your new associate. Your new associate doesn't dictate to you who you're going to go see. You dictate to your new associate what you're going to go see, right? I said, Sean, here's what we're looking for. We're looking for ideally a married couple, and it could be a married partner, right? A married couple. They have kids, right? And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, depending on their age. They might have grandkids, right? They own a home, preferably. They have an income. They're entrepreneurial. They're competitive. They're already making a 6-figure plus income. They're really good people. And he goes, okay. And he laughs. He looks at me. He goes, damn, dude, I don't know nobody like that. I say, yeah, you do. You know someone like that. Now, once you create a profile in someone's mind, right? Once you create, remember your reticular activator, right? Once you create that profile in someone's mind, they will start to see exactly the seed that you planted in their mind, right? So he calls me that next day. He's like, dude, Charlier, I was at the cigar lounge. I said, he goes, I bumped into one of my buddies that I smoke cigars with. And he goes, I was thinking about what you said. He's married, he owns a home, He owns a carpet and flooring. Owns a carpet and flooring business. He's making a couple of $100,000 a year. He's a good guy, blah blah blah, all this stuff. I said, okay, what's his name? He says his name is Peter, and his wife's name is Jane. I was like, okay. I said, book an appointment, right? So 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 he books an appointment. At the time, Peter and Jane, they're living in Canyon Lake, right? They're still living in Canyon Lake. So Sean calls me. He's like, yo, I'm swinging by. I'm picking you up. We're going on this appointment. I was like, cool, right? So he picks me up. We go on the appointment, right? So we walk into Peter's house, and Peter's, he's got a cigar room in his house, and Sean's a big cigar smoker. I'm a big cigar smoker. So Peter sits down, and then we light up a cigar, and we're just talking. And then Jane actually wasn't expecting to come down. Jane didn't know it was an appointment or anything like that. And Peter was like, Jane, and Jane came down. Jane sat down, and we were talking about meditation, and we were talking about all the different meditations and all of that stuff, Wayne Dyer and all of that, for about like an hour and a half. We never talked business, right? So it's time for us to leave. We leave. We get in the car. Sean and I get in the car. Sean goes, dude, we spent an hour and a half in there. You didn't even sell him a policy. He goes, what the hell is that? See, this is what I'm talking about, the WFG people, man. And I said, Sean, man, you and I got two different mindsets. I'm focused on building a company. You're focused on selling. I said, well, get the sale, dude, right? And I said, but more importantly, we're going to focus on getting you a business partner, right? Peter and Jane eventually joined. They eventually joined. We did their financial needs analysis. We set up an emergency account. We set up a long-term game plan for them. We did all of that stuff for them. They were excited. Sean's in the business. All of this stuff is going on, right? Sean comes back to me. He recruits I recruit Peter and Jane, right? Peter and Jane's fired up and excited. Sean starts to fade. He starts to, oh man, is this really for me? Blah, blah, blah. Remember we tell you, right? When you recruit someone, right? Even though you can get them licensed and all this stuff, you got to always be talking to them, right? The tendency, why do you taproot a new recruit? Why do you get a new recruit underneath them as fast as possible so you can get leverage? So when Sean started to say to me, he said to me, he's like, man, I don't know if this is for me. I think I'd rather be a general agent. I said, Sean, man, I'm sorry to hear that, brother. I get it. I said, but man, thank you for introducing me to Peter and Jane. Peter and Jane are freaking awesome. They're going to build a great organization, blah, 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 all this stuff. I hope you stay. But if you don't stay, thank you for the introduction to Peter and Jane, right? So he ended up leaving, right? So 2012, I decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to LA, right? So I told the team, I cast a new vision. I said, hey, I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to go to Beverly Hills. I'm going to start a whole new team from scratch. It's going to be a new base shop, new people, all this stuff. So I'm talking in a meeting, right? So Peter goes to an event. He goes to a nonprofit event in LA, right? So he runs into a guy by the name of David, which is a real estate guy. Peter runs into him. And he lives in Beverly Hills. And Peter says to him, prospecting says to him, my mentor just moved to Beverly Hills, and he's opening a new office, and he's looking for some sharp people. You strike me as a sharp person. I would love to introduce you to my mentor, right? So David goes, yeah, I would love to meet your mentor. So Peter calls me, says, hey, I met this guy named David. He lives in Beverly Hills. I invite David to the Grand Havana room. David comes to the Grand Havana room, right? So he comes to the Grand Havana room. We start talking. And I said to David, let me ask you a question, man. If I had a magic wand and I can help you with one thing, what would it be? So he sits back and he goes, I'm doing this investment deal in real estate, and here's what I'm looking for, blah, 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 all this stuff. I said, look, I don't usually refer people, but I have a buddy that's in real estate. I can introduce you to my buddy, and whatever you guys decide to do, that's on you, right? So I introduced him to one of my buddies that was in real estate in Vegas. They end up doing a deal. It worked out for him, right? It worked out for him. Now you want to be careful when you refer people, especially if you have a securities license and a life license. And so it ended up working out for him. And he comes back, he's so excited. He's like, Charlier. He's like, man, I've been in Beverly Hills for 40 years, dude. He's like, very rarely, usually everybody wants something from you. Very rarely you find someone with a good heart that just wants to help. I really, really appreciate it. And he says to me, he says, well, Dan, I want to reverse what you said. If I can help you, what would it be? Right? Remember, we talk about there's general recruiting and there's specific recruiting, right? I want you to think about that. All right. There's general recruiting. So when we're running the captain system, you're driving invitation, you're getting 10 recruits, 20 recruits, 30 recruits, 40 recruits, 50 recruits, like Jay and Ronnie's doing right now. That's general recruiting, right? But inside that general recruiting, there's also specific recruiting, right? Now, some people make the mistake. They go, I want to recruit quality, right? I want to recruit quality. That's a great way to stay small. You got to get quantity to find quality, right? So within that high volume recruiting, I want you to be specific on what you're looking for, right? So David asked me, he says, so what are you looking for, Charlier? If I can help you with one thing, what would it be? I says, look, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone that's actually in the insurance industry, that's very successful. They're married, right? They're married. They have kids. They're in the Beverly Hills area. They're Jewish. They have a lot of credibility in the Jewish market, right? But they're dissatisfied, right? They're dissatisfied. See, a lot of times you meet people, but they're not dissatisfied, right? I just had a conversation with a New York Life recruiter, right? That was trying to recruit my son. It's so funny, right? I'll tell you the story another time. But I knew he wasn't dissatisfied. So I was just like, it's a waste of my time. It's a waste of his time because he's not dissatisfied with what he's doing. I'm not dissatisfied. So when there's no dissatisfaction, it's a waste of time, right? And oh my God, what a joke. Jeez Louise, what a joke, right? But anyway, so anyway, I tell him that. So he sits back at the Grand Havana room and he goes, God, I don't know anyone that fits that profile. He says, but my brother, his name is Michael. He works at the Kabbalah Center. He's very well known in the Kabbalah Center. He knows everyone in the Kabbalah Center. I'm going to schedule an appointment for my brother to come see you so we can figure out a way to help you, right? So his brother Michael comes to my office. And he sits down and I start showing him WFG and he puts his hand on paper. He goes, look, you don't have to show me WFG. He says, you got 3 lines on your forehead. In my religion, that means that you're a trustworthy person. My brother already told me great things about you. Tell me exactly what I can do to help you. I said, okay, great. I said, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a married couple. They have kids. They own a home. They're in the insurance industry. They're making a multi-6-figure income. They're entrepreneurial. They're dissatisfied and they're extremely competitive, right? And they're looking for an opportunity. And he looks at me and he goes, man, what's Stephanie Goldman? Don't Botox your lines on your forehead. Thank you, Stephanie. Like, why the hell would I Botox my lines on my forehead? I don't do guys actually do that? They do, huh? Patrina says they do. Anyway, right? So yeah, thanks for the laugh there, Stephanie, right? So he goes, I don't really know anyone that fits that profile, but here's what I'll do, right? Here's what I'll do. Let me think about it. So 2 hours later, he calls me. And he says, oh my God, I know exactly. Remember the profile. Remember your reticular activator system, right? So his whole time in his mind, he's thinking about everybody that he knows, and all of a sudden, guess what profile popped in his head? Joseph and Bathsheba. He says, oh my God, I know exactly the couple you're looking for. He says, so he calls me to tell me that. I said, well, do you have credibility with him? He says, yes. I said, can you schedule an appointment for them to come meet me in my office? He said, absolutely. Joseph and Bathsheba comes down to the office. They come to meet with me. Bathsheba looks on the wall. She sees there it's WFG. Well, she had an experience with WFG. She flings her hair, gives Joseph like the message, like, let's get the hell out of here. This is a waste of our time. But I was paying attention to body language, right? Remember what speaks, right? Tone of voice, body language, content is third. So I was paying attention to their body language. And then I asked the right questions because I was interested, not interesting. I said, have you heard of WFG? You obviously heard of WFG. What have you heard? What was your experience? And I allowed them to tell me their experience. And then through their experience, right? I was meeting with one of my really good friends. She's actually a good friend of Joseph and Batshaba, Dr. B. She's the one that referred. Dr. B is the one. She's a really good friend of mine. But I met her through Batshaba, and she's one of the top therapists in Beverly Hills with A-list actors, right? So we met, and then ever since then we become friends, and like every couple of months we meet at the Grand Havana Room and we talk, and she's actually the one that actually referred Denise to us. And then Denise became, an SMD. So she works on a referral basis. And she was telling me that her daughter, I think her daughter's name is Gabby or Gally. Gally's her daughter. Her daughter does narrative therapy. What narrative therapy is, therapy through you telling your story, right? Where Dr. B's therapy is more, it's more intense. It's cognitive therapy, which is a little bit more intense. And so we were talking the other Galley. Yeah, there you go, Batshaba Galley. All right. We were talking the other day, and we were talking about this whole experience. So when I met with Batshaba, I allowed Batshaba, and it wasn't so much Joseph. Joseph was just quiet. Like, Joseph's always a sniper. He's just like quiet, and he says just the right thing at the right time. But Batshaba was like, she was like all over the place, right? But I allowed her to speak. I allowed her to tell her story. And through her story, I saw that she didn't really understand our platform. She didn't really understand our compensation. She did not really understand our system. She did not really understand our meeting environment, our meeting mentality, and growing a team, and leveraging your time, and all these things that she didn't understand. And then I said to her, I said, are you open to have a conversation? Are you open to see it from a different perspective? Because I've been doing this for 13 years and that hasn't been my experience, right? And then she said, yes, I'm open to looking at it, right? So once I took her through that, her and Joseph, we set up another appointment. Then we set up another appointment. Then we set up another appointment. Then they came full time. They walked away from their general agency and they came full time. And literally, Joseph and Batshaba would put me at, really, Batshaba would put me in front of 8-9 people a day. And then now you've got Peter and Jane's organization. Jane's over 22,000 in cash flow already this month, right? Peter and Jane, right? And then you got Joseph and Batshaba and all of this stuff. And I'm talking about Buddy Sean the other day, right? And this is like, it's 2021, right? And he's still doing the same thing. He's still a personal producer. He can't do as many appointments as he did before, right? And I said to him the other day, I said, hey, man, remember back in 2012, man, I told you that I would help you build a team. I said, remember Peter and Jane? I said, they're SMDs now. They're 6-figure earners. Remember I met that couple, Joseph and Batshaba? Yeah, they just got promoted to EMDs. They got a great organ. I said, Sean, that was your team. I was telling you that I was going to help you build. Now, obviously, if you would have did the business, he probably would have been a lot bigger. He probably would have had a lot more people and all of this stuff. Why am I telling you this? Why I'm telling you this is that sometimes we overestimate what we can do in a year, but we underestimate where our lives can be 5, 10, 15 years from now. So you got to, and you think it's a long time. You think 5 years is a long time. You think 10 years is a long time. You think 20 years, it goes by like that. Goes by like that. See, but what if I would have recruited? Sean and I didn't think about taprooting, and I never met Peter and Jane? What if I would have recruited Peter and Jane and I never thought about taprooting? I never got David. What if I would have got David and I've never taprooted them and found Joseph and Bathsheba. So I want you to look at your business right now. I want you to look at how wide you are, how many directs, right? Who's your Peter and Jane? Who's your David? Who's your Joseph and Bathsheba? The business format system tells us if we take a leg 4 deep, somewhere within that 4 deep, we're going to find our next leaders. We're going to find our next SMDs. We're going to find our next $100,000 earners. We're going to find our next EMDs. We're going to find our next CEOs, right? So that's a classic building skill. So we talk about recruit and building, right? So you got to be very strategic in that, right? Within that, you look at our opportunity, right? Let's move over to our next slide. You took that, our opportunity is greater than ever. It's greater than ever. Look at this, you guys. There's still a lot of markets that are open. There's so many markets that are open. Look at this right here. You look at 1,023 Latinos surveyed, earning over $25,000. Just 15% said they use a financial advisor. There are just 2,700 Black or Latino CFPs in America, 1,200 Blacks and 1,500 Latinos. The survey also found that 58% of Black and Latino prospective financial planners have never seriously thought of becoming financial planners. Can you imagine that? So when you start to talk about our market, and you start to look at, our impact in the African American community, you start to look at our impact in the women community, whether it's African, Latino, or African males, or Latinos, or Jewish, or all the different cultures, we're extremely, extremely small. Look at this right here. The least expensive flat fee for financial advisors is around $1,000 to $3,000 annual to create a plan and buy funds according to the specific service you select, right? So you look at that, the WFG experience where we get a chance to do something for families, we get a chance to make a difference, but more importantly, fix an indifference, because now we can give them opportunity. And some of the platforms that we're going into the future now, I wish I could tell you of some of these platforms that are totally incredible. I want you to look at this. I want to let you to look at this survey, because sometimes when you start to take a look at, well, man, is the financial service industry, is it growing? Is it the market saturated? We haven't even touched. Look at this, you guys. Share of professionals by role category: A, entry level; B, manager; C, senior manager or director; D, vice president; E, senior vice president. If you take a look at white, right, 61% entry level, 64% manager, 76% senior manager or director, 81% vice president, 88% senior vice president. Look at Black, you guys. 10% entry. Oh, by the way, do I have to be Black in order to get into the African American community? Absolutely not. That's like me saying, do I have to be Jewish in order to get into the Jewish community? Absolutely not. So I don't want our business to be a niche. I want us to be able to go into all the diverse backgrounds. That's why if you see Synergy Financial, we've got a little bit of everyone. We've got Filipinos, we've got Chinese, we've had Blacks, we've got Hispanics, we've got a little bit of everyone, right? But I want you to be specific, the markets that you're going after. And we're going to talk about some of the things that we're doing as a company to go into these markets, right? Look at Black, you guys. Entry level 10, manager 7, senior manager 4. Look at this. Vice president 3, senior vice president 2. Look at that. Hispanic and Latin. Look at Hispanic. Entry level 9, manager 6, senior manager 4, vice president 3, senior vice president 2. What does that mean? Right? What does that mean? There's so many people out there that are looking for an opportunity. See, when you look at our promotion guidelines, you guys, where you could go from SMD to EMD to CEO to EVC to SEVC to 1, 2, 3, right? All the way to field chairman and all of that stuff. That's incredible. That's incredible that you could do that in our platform, right? Look at the next rate. Average executive senior level diversity across. This is by the U.S. Labor Bureau of Labor Statistics and U.S. Financial Committee staff analysis of bank diversity data February 2020. Average gender diversity, 29% women, 71% men. Look at it. Average rate in ethnic diversity, 19% racial ethnic minority, 81% white, right? So there's a lot of people that's one of the biggest questions that I've been asked for years in WFG. How come there's not more African American, more diversity in the senior executive positions of our company? Now, here's the thing. We're entrepreneurial. Every one of you have an opportunity here. You can become an SMD. You can become an EMD. You can become a CEO. You can become an EVC. You can become an SEVC, right? You have that opportunity. See, when we give someone an opportunity here in WFG, see, we're not, I'm not your boss, right? I can't tell you because you're a woman, you can't be an SMD. I can't tell you because you're Black, you can't be an SMD. I can't tell you because you're Jewish, you can't be an SMD. It's not possible in our environment, right? And our environment is a win-win environment, which is incredible, right? You think about that, the diversity, the diversification that in your organization, in your team, the dream that you can sell. See, everybody's got a heart, you guys. I want you to think about this. I want you to think about this. Everybody's got a heart. Everybody wants someone to say, tell me something special about me. Tell me that I can do this. I need someone to believe in me. I need a real opportunity that I can deliver on my God-sized dreams, right? See, you think New York Life is having these kind of conversations? You think the general agency system is having these conversations? There's no financial incentive for them to mentor you. There's no financial incentive. This is what I was telling Sean back in the day. I said, Sean, look, let me ask you a question. How would you recruit me? So let's have a recruiting conversation. How would you recruit me? Because I already know on the product side you can't compete because you guys don't have a broad array of products. That's like a general store competing with like an Amazon, right? It ain't gonna happen. Right? We just got way too many products. We got way too much stuff, right? So I said, but let's talk about the recruiting side because you guys love to talk about contracts, right? So I said to Sean, I said, hey man, if you were going to recruit me, how would you recruit me? He said, well, Sean, yeah, you're on a 65% contract. I give you an 80% contract. And I said, well, that sounds good to someone that's not that smart. You know, sometimes someone could be in Rolls Royce, don't know that they're in a Rolls Royce. Right? So they jump out the Rolls Royce and get into a little hoopty, right? But they didn't realize they were in Rolls Royce. The problem is, Sean, I'm in a Rolls Royce. I know I'm in a Rolls Royce. So why the hell would I go for a bigger contract with you? I said, let me ask you a question, bro. I said, how do I get your contract? What's your contract? He said 130. I go, how do I get your contract? How do I get on a 130% contract? He's like, damn, well, you can't be on 130. I go, why? He goes, because if I put you on a 130 contract, I'm paying for my office, right? This is him talking. He says, I pay for the office. I pay for the administration. I pay for all the employees and all of that stuff. I do all of that stuff. I give you the background and all of that stuff, right? And then I no longer override you. I said, well, Sean, I don't really care about all of that. I want your contract. How do I get your contract? He says, you can't. I said, Sean, that's why you could never recruit me. Because I want your contract. And if I join you in business, eventually you and I are going to have this conversation. And you talking that talk you talking now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave, right? And I've been working with you for a while, so I assessed your business, right? I'm going to leave. I'm going to go open up my own office. And guess what? I'm now your competition. And he looks at me And Joseph and Bathsheba said the same thing when I told him the story. He looked at me, he goes, Dan, that's what's been happening to me my entire life. He said, I could never keep my best guys. My best guys have always left and became my competition. I said, exactly. Because you don't have a building structure. You don't have a system. It's not designed. It's not your culture. You don't have the culture. You don't have the leadership. Even if I gave you the business format system, you don't understand the culture. You don't have the leadership. You don't have the leadership and development. You don't know how many millions and millions and millions of dollars that Aegon have spent just on our grid, just on the software. And then, you know, the decades of leadership experience that it takes to get something like this on the ground. You don't have that. So same thing happens in real estate. Same thing happens in the mortgage business. Same thing happens in the traditional life insurance industry. They don't have a system. They don't have a system, right? So you're smaller, you know, training associate, you know, your people that are not making money, that are broke and all of this stuff. You might see them quit and go to these different outfits, right? People quit in many different ways. They're just finding a reason to quit. That's all that is. But listen, WFG is the #1 platform, bar none. You guys, you know how many times I've had these conversations? 1,001%, 1,001%. #1. So guess what? So you look at that, right? You look at TransUnion online survey. Look at this. Of more than 2,000 adults, 69% of consumers indicated there is someone in their household who works in the financial service industry and was impacted by a job loss, reduction in work hours or loss or freelance work. Oh, hello. Someone's excited. She hears me. She wants to say hello to everybody. Say hello. Say hello. She hears me yelling in the office. She wants to say hello. Say hi to everybody, baby. Wow. Wow. Mwah. Ah, she heard me in the office fired up, right? So you take a look at that. You guys, what does this mean? See, right now you got to visit. If you're thinking to yourself, I'm not a good recruiter. Recruiting is not my thing, right? Well, let me ask you a question. Let me challenge your thinking on that. Do you really believe, like when you were born, right? Doctor slapped you on, which, you know, I've never seen a doctor slap a baby in the butt. I don't know where that saying comes from. Sounds good, but I don't think it ever happens, right? They didn't slap my daughter in the butt. I was there. I've never seen that, but somehow we say it, right? Sounds good. Maybe back in the day they used to do that. Doctor slaps you in the butt, goes, this one's not a recruiter. Didn't happen, right? It's a story that you're telling yourself, right? And I want you to revisit your story, right? Whether it's true or false, I want you to ask you a question, right? How does it serve you? How does it serve you, right? So why am I going over all this information with you? I'm going over this information with you because sometimes what happens, see, Sean quit, right? David never got started. He got started on a referral program, right? He just referred, never got a license, all this stuff. You know how many people I've had quit on me? Scott Hemp quit, Ron Pickett quit, John Mayer quit. Thousands of people have quit, right? How do I still see? Sometimes you can carry. I used to tell the team in Beverly Hills, I say, some of you are carrying recruiting trauma. Recruiting trauma. You stop recruiting because you invested time in someone and then they quit the business. The challenge is you didn't have any leverage. You didn't have any leverage. See, if when I recruited Sean, what if I would never got Peter and Jane? What if I just recruited Sean, invested a bunch of time in Sean, training him, and then he quit, and then I go, oh my God, this recruiting thing, oh my God, I invested all this time and now he quit. I'm not recruiting again. I'm just going to become a personal producer, right? Well, what's the trajectory of your business? Where are you going to be 5 years from now? Where are you going to be 10 years from now, right? If you stay on that path, right? You just happen to be in recruiting season right now. You're in recruiting season right now, right? And you got the number one platform with momentum right now, right? Look at this, you guys. Why you need to always progress, right? Sometimes sometimes I talk to leaders and they're like, well, Dan, life is good. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. My life is good. That's great. That's awesome. I'm happy that your life is good and you're having a great time and all of that stuff, right? But progress equals happiness. Why do you need to progress? Progress equals happiness. Amazon didn't kill retail, poor customer service did. Apple didn't kill music sales, buying full-length albums did. Netflix didn't kill movie renting, ridiculous late fees did. Uber didn't kill the taxi game, prices and access did, right? So if you see WFG is already awesome, but WFG is also evolving. It's evolving. Right, you'll see at our convention. You'll see all the announcement. It's evolving. You can't continue to stay the same in an environment that's evolving. You will get left behind if you don't evolve as a leader, which is extremely important. Right now, there's got to be some vision. Right, go back to that slide. There's got to be a little bit of vision. I talked about. Guess what? I remember where I come from, right? You know your story, where you come from. Today's Memorial Day. We get a chance to go, man, call your mom, call your dad, call your family, and let them know, you know what? I appreciate all the sacrifices you made, right? Today's about gratitude. I appreciate some of you got incredible stories. Your moms, your dads went through some incredible things to get you to where you're at right now, right? It's Memorial Day. Right? Show some gratitude. Now, here's where you are right now. You might not be where you want to be. But don't forget where you came from. Your journey has been an incredible experience. But now what I want you to do is I want you to look. Oh man. Oh wow. Whoa. I want you to see your life what it's going to look like 5 years from now. Right? You're 26. I want you to see your life at 31. I was talking to Jay Jr.'s team on Saturday. I said, Jay, remember when you were 26? You just turned 31. Remember I told Jay's team, I said, dude, remember Jay was 22 years old, right? Jay called me. He was on his way to Vegas for convention. He gets a flat tire, gets a blown tire. He ain't got no money, right? His wife's phone gets cut off, right? He ain't got no money, right? And he's calling me. He's like, Coach, man, blah, 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 blah. And I said, Jay, I was like, dude, do you know that's an incredible space to be in right now? I said, do you know how awesome that is, right? I said, this is a defining moment for you. It's a defining moment. If you make the right decision and the right choice right now, can you imagine what your life's going to look like 5 years from now? When you imagine, see, I had to get him to look through the scope and go, man, I got to not see, there's always going to be challenges in life, right? There's always going to be ups and downs. Life's about peaks and valleys and, the power of contrast, right? It's not always going to be up. There's going to be down. There's going to be up. There's going to be down. Some days you're going to be feeling like, like you go 12 rounds, and some days you're going to feel like laying on a mat. I mean, it's just the way things are. See, but where do you get your power from? You get your power from the ability to have gratitude, the ability to have perspective, right? The ability to have vision, right? To have vision of where you're going to be. I want you to think about, what's my vision, right? If I'm willing to pay the price now, where am I going to be 5 years from now? Where am I going to be 10 years from now? Right? And I want you to think about that. Think about it with clarity of where you're going, right? And that needs to be this vision. You're going to have this team. You're going to have an organization. You're going to have this incredible lifestyle that you designed, right? Have that, right? Because that's what's going to compel you to everything. Now I want you to think about this. Why WFG? Why WFG? Right? Why don't I go do something else? Why WFG? I wanted you to look at this. Look at this. There's three things I want you to look at. Look at this. Number one franchise right now is Taco Bell. That's the number one franchise, right? Initial investment, $576,000 to $3.4 million. Initial franchise fee, $25,000 to $45,000. Royalty and ad fees, 9.75%. Your net worth needs to be $1.5 million. Cash requirement, $750,000. Franchise owners earn $60,000 annually on an average of $29 an hour. Check that out, right? Check that out. That's the number one freaking franchise. Number one franchise. Let's take a look at the number one multi-level marketing, Amway. Amway's still around. $100 annual to get started. 2020 revenue, $8.5 billion. The top 1% in Amway, you know what they earn? $83,000 a year in average. The top 10% in Amway, you know what they earn? $13,000 in average. The top 50% in Amway, you know what they earn? $3,100 a year in average. Then you look at WFG, right? $125 to start. Aegon's assets, number 80 in Forbes, 232,000 new teammates, 2020, 98 million in commissions paid in 2020, and we just went over $1 billion, right? And look at this. Just in 2020, this is just in 2020, we had 948 new advancements. These are new SMDs, 851 new SMDs just that year, 57 EMDs just in 2020, 28 CEOs just in 2020, 11 EVCs and 1 SEVC. Look at this, ring earners. These are all new ring earners. 283 new $100,000 earners. 280. Imagine this. Imagine our annual convention coming up. Imagine if we had to literally recognize all the new $100,000 earners between 2020 and 2021, right? That means that we would have to sit there and we would have to watch 283 new people that just got started in WFG get their $100,000 ring. 131 $250,000 ring earners, 23 $500,000 earners, 14 750 earners, 12 $1 million earners, 5 $1.5 million earners, 2 $2 million, 1 $5 million, 2 $7 million, and 1 $8 million. And you sitting there and you listening to Joe Blow that works at Bob Big Boys, that's making $50,000 a year, tell you, hey man, how do I know this is not a scam? Right? You listening to that and you don't bring no energy into that conversation? Are you kidding me? You got to learn how to close. You got to learn how to ask the right questions. They're not the challenge, you're the challenge. See, you got to practice. You got to get good at this stuff. You got to get good at this stuff. Yesterday, I was at a party yesterday, right? Small party. It was over someone's house. It's someone you all know. You all would know who it is. It's you remember the show Pam, and not Pam. You remember the show Martin. Remember the show Everybody Hates Chris, and then now there's a show called Neighborhood, right? And I was over Pam's house. I forgot her name. Somebody knows her name. She played the actress Pam on Martin, right? It was over her house. My wife and I were there, right? Yeah, there you go. Tashina Arnold, right? Super, super, super bright lady. A lot of energy. So we were sitting around, right? We were smoking cigars. We were sitting around. We were talking. There's probably 5 of us in this circle, and we started talking about business and entrepreneurship and all of this stuff. And then we started talking about objections, and we started talking about what was it that we were talking about? Let me make sure I'm staying on time. Okay. We started to talk about addiction approval, right? Like most people are afraid about what people think about them and all this stuff. And one of my buddies, his name is Ricky. Ricky is he's the ambassador for Rolls Royce, right? So he's the top guy at Rolls Royce, and all this stuff. So we were talking about what it takes to be in the top 5%, what it takes to be in the top 1%, and all this stuff. And Ricky was talking about, he says, he's been in the top 1% in his field in car sales for a long time. And I said, Ricky, I said, what do you think the number one challenge you have with most of your sales guys and stuff like that? He goes, Dan, the number one thing is nobody wants to ask for the sale. He's like, nobody. He's like, dude, when I'm closing a deal, they'll write me a check for $450,000, $500,000 to buy a car. He said, but you know what I do? I ask for the sale. I ask for the sale, right? So a lot of times we don't ask people. If I was to talk to you about a serious opportunity, would you listen? Right? If I could put a plan together for you and your family, and you be the sole judge of that, do you have any challenges becoming my client? So there's a time where you're going to ask open-ended questions, right? And there's a time where you're going to ask close-ended questions. And hopefully you're going through our training, our training that goes over open-ended questions and closed-ended questions, right? So that's part of your training. You got to get great at this. And then one of the things that I said there, along with asking for the sale, here's the second thing. If you can overcome the objection of when someone says, I want to think about it. It's another big objection that people don't know how to overcome that objection. Obviously you want to think about it because you're serious. I know you're not saying that just because you want to get rid of me. Are you? No, absolutely not. Well, the best time for you to think about it is right now, while it's fresh on your mind and it's fresh on my mind. Let's think it through together. What is it that you want to think about? Right? You got to know how to do this stuff. You got to drill, practice, rehearse. Right? When someone says, if you don't know the words of the business, you don't understand overcoming objections, you don't understand what's the difference between an open-ended question and closing. You have to raise the IQ. The people that are making $100,000 a year, that's what they know. They know how to close. The ones that are making $250,000, they know how to close. Every conversation is a close. Your new associate telling you that they can't go to convention and you saying, okay, guess what? They just close you. You got to always be closing. Your new associate not showing up to a meeting, guess what? They close you on why they can't come to the meeting. Right? So you got to know how to close. If you want to build a team, you got to know how to close. You got to know how to have conversation and get someone to see something from a totally different perspective, right? You got to get great at it. Look at this, first quarter highlights, right? And we're going to be done in a few minutes. First quarter highlights, 2021. Licensed agents up 18%, net recruits 6.7, net points 32%, commissions 32%, net point ratio 4%, over $1 billion paid to the field force, which is, why is this important? Why do I always show you this, right? I always show you this because you got to come back to yourself. You got to ask yourself 2 questions today, right? Got gratitude, man, that's awesome where you come from, but you got to ask yourself, and I want you to be, leaders have the ability to be brutally honest with themselves. And here's the question that you have to ask yourself. Am I growing? Am I growing? Or am I rotten? Have I gotten to a point where I think I know it all? That means that you're not growing. Am I growing or am I dying? Now, if you're dying, if you're not growing, you're dying. Guess what happens when you start to die? You're no longer, you become no longer relevant. The challenge with that is that, what are we seeking? We're seeking fulfillment. We want to be happy, right? Well, happiness comes with what? Happiness comes with progress, right? So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about that. Say, hey, I need to make a move. I need to make a move because everything's moving but me. Everything's moving but me, right? Now, a couple cool things, right? Isn't it cool, you guys? Look at this. Isn't it cool that WFG Transamerica is sponsoring this event? Those of you that don't know the history of Black Wall Street, there's an incredible documentary on YouTube. Incredible, right? But we're sponsoring that as a company. That's incredible, right? Michelle Obama, Kamala Harris, Charles Rangel, Dr. Jana B. Woodhouse, they're all going to be there. And Nikki Cannon's going to be there. That's incredible, right? Guess what else we're doing? At Howard University, we're running a full page ad in Howard University. A full page ad in Howard University because I was having a cigar yesterday, and one of the guys there is Black Excellence guy, Carl Dickerson, which is a huge African American investor. He's in his 80s now. We were talking about this, right? Because one of his grandkids go to Howard University, and we were talking about how we want to diversify and get in the African American community, expand in the Latin community, expand in the Jewish community, expand in all the different communities, right? We got a full blown ad in Howard University, right? My wife and I are going to be there. Link to our website. They're going to be going to our website. I'm going to be getting with a lot of you guys for matchup and then recruiting and all of that stuff, which is going to be incredible. See, WFG is doing a lot of this stuff, you guys. You know what I mean? You're going to see a lot of different cultures. The rabbi, my new director, rabbi, he's going into the Jewish community. He just met with another rabbi in Beverly Hills, and they're going to be taking the WFG platform to their communities, which is incredible, right? Incredible. So here's the deal, you guys. You can't get left behind. You cannot get left behind. You got to make a move, right? You got to get accountable. You got to get with your leader and go, hey, I'm an MD. I need to get to SMD. I'm an SMD. I need to get to 100,000. I'm a senior associate. I need to get to MD. This is not the time to be sitting on your laurels. It's not this time to be thinking that you've made it. None of us have made it yet, you guys, right? There's still a lot of people out there that need help at this time, and they need to see the best version of yourself, right? Having said that, I want to do one last thing. So if we can, the Next Level Growth Academy, we're going to be the graduates from the Next Level Growth Academy. We're going to be going to I believe it's South Coast Winery. You should have got a phone call from Christopher Schleman's staff, right? We're going to be staying at the South Coast Winery. It's going to be an incredible couple of days. I think we're going to be there for 3 days. We also have an incredible mansion. We have an incredible go back a little bit. We also have an incredible mansion. So it's going to be the South Coast Winery, and then we have an incredible mansion that has 9 rooms, and I believe it's like 25,000 square foot house. Right, it's going to be freaking awesome. And then we're going to announce who's actually going to stay at the mansion, and some of you are going to be staying at the South Coast Winery. For the Next Level Growth Academy, we're also going to take the Elite Circle grads there too. So we've got 2 people that graduate Elite Circle. I think we have 6 that graduate Next Level Growth Academy, which is going to be awesome. And then the Growth Academy graduates, we're going to be in South Beach. That's going to be awesome. South Beach, Miami. We're planning that trip. Right now. Christopher's getting with all the graduates for the Growth Academy. That's going to be freaking an awesome trip. I think we're doing that. Are we doing that in June or July? It's one of those. It's either June or July that we're doing that. And we're going to be kicking off. It's going to be in August that we're doing that trip in South Beach. And we're going to be kicking off the new Elite Circle, the new Next Level Growth Academy, the new Next Growth Academy. So those of you that came close, that didn't quite graduate, you're going to have another opportunity to earn your Next Level Growth Academy shirt. and jacket, and we're gonna have a blast, you guys. So I wanted to jump on here to talk to you guys for a few minutes. I haven't talked to you guys in a couple of weeks, but want to know who's gonna separate themselves from the pack. Who's gonna separate themselves from the pack in the month of June? Who's gonna make an aggressive move? Who's gonna be the next Joseph and Bathsheba? Who's gonna be the next Bobby? Who's gonna be the next Denise? This is your shot. This is your shot at the big time. This is a time to get focused. You know, avoid all the distractions. Some of you start going good and you get distracted, right? You got to focus back in. You got to focus back in, and you got to get after it. Thank you, guys. Let me open it up. Where Elisa, come on back. Let's see. Do we have any questions? Anybody have any questions for me? Anything like they like to ask or anything? Those of you that keep saying appreciate you, Dan, turn that appreciation into some numbers. You know what I mean? That's how I know you appreciate. You appreciate when you throw some numbers up. You know what I mean? Don't be like goose eggs. Anybody have any questions?
Man,
Cool.
they're just too shy to ask. Apparently, that they're all making a ton of money this month already. This week today, Dan.
That's awesome. Well, enjoy your day, you guys. Enjoy your day. Be safe, and let's get after it. See you guys at the top.